Hello everyone, my name is Maria and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm an entrepreneur, a spiritual teacher, and I could not be excited to dive into the topic of manifestation today. Manifestation is something that is near and dear to my heart. This is something that I wrote a book about. So manifestation and I go way back. Today I wanted to share one of the concepts. It's in my book in chapter 1. So I perceive this to be the basics, the foundation of the work of manifestation. Here we go. Manifestation, the way I see it, is energy work. Now, arguably everything is energy, right? Energy shifting from one facet to another. So for those of you that, are spiritual, are on the spiritual path, this is probably not a novel concept. Now, there's been a lot of, books. It's a pretty big movement out there around the law of attraction. And I love the law of attraction, but I personally believe and know that the law of attraction is just scratching the surface of what's possible with manifestation. It is just one of the facets that we consider as we are trying to call into existence the life that we want. So, manifestation requires energy. It requires not just any kind of energy. It requires a particular energy stream in terms of frequency for you to be able to manifest it. One thing that I've noticed as I, interact with the world, as I watch people around me manifest things or struggle to manifest things is, unfortunately, not everybody's created equal. Unfortunately, some people, or fortunately, shall I say, some people are really good, naturally really good at manifesting. Whatever they want, they can get aligned to really, really quickly. And then I watch the very opposite end of that spectrum. Some people really, really struggle. And they struggle, and it's really, really hard for them to align with even the simplest of things. So I wanted to understand why that is the case. And so I started diving deep. For those of you that don't know me, I'm clairvoyant and clairaudient, which means that I get guidance from spirit. Predominantly in two formats, right? I'm essentially my third eye is open, so I see pictures and images in my mind around how things work. But I also get an auditory stream, right? It's almost like a telepathic communication from my spirit guides as well. Pretty much constantly, right? On a daily. So for me, it was actually very, very easy to look at people and observe people who are manifesting to try to understand what is going on with their energy body and energy field. So here's what I found out. There are two types of energy that you need in order to be able to manifest the life that you want. That's it. If you have that, you are well ahead of the curve. So these energies are of a particular color, is the simplest way of thinking about it. Now, of course, color is just a proxy. Color is just one way to describe what a frequency is, right? So as we're talking about the energies of manifestation, what you need is the energy of the yellow-gold spectrum. So on the one end, there is the polarity of the yellow energies, and on the other end, there's the polarity of the gold energies. If you have both of them, you're golden. No pun intended. And essentially, you would be able to manifest anything that your heart desires fairly, fairly quickly. What are these energies? Where do they come from? Let's dive right in. So the energy of the yellow spectrum is something that you get from your biological father. It is also the energy that happens to live in your solar plexus. For those of you that are familiar with the concept of the chakras, this is your solar plexus chakra that lives in your belly area. It is yellow, hence the energy of the yellow spectrum. Now, I did mention that you get that from your father. How come? So when you descend into this body, when you come into this body, as a soul, as a being, into this incarnation, intending to go through experiences, your energetic body does not get created out of nowhere, right? So you don't just have the physical body, you have the energy body, you have the emotional body, you have the mental body. And, we're going to dive into all of that in my future videos. So don't worry if you don't understand something, that's probably because you're lacking some context. So when you're coming into a body, you have essentially a blank slate for the universe to start with at the beginning. And so you take two streams of energy, a stream from your father and a stream from your mother, and they essentially commingle inside of your body. Now, it just happens so that the energy of the solar plexus chakra is taken from your father. He is the blueprint for that type of energy. So if your father is himself lacking in the energies of the yellow spectrum, then you're just going to borrow that. And that is why abundance tends to run in the families very often, right? Because certain energies, all energies essentially, are passed from generation to generation. And that is why very often you would have whole lineages that are like living in poverty. And then you're going to have the exact opposite side of the spectrum, which is the uber rich people, you know, that inherit millions of dollars, billions of dollars, right? And it runs in the families. But it doesn't only run in the families because, well, duh, you know, people inherit, you know, if you inherit like a mansion and like $100 million, then it's easier, arguably, for you to align with the wealth because you already are inherently aligned. There is more to that than just inheriting cash. You're also inheriting energies. So essentially, if your father himself was lacking in the energies of the yellow spectrum, or actually, if you don't have a good relationship with your biological father, you're going to have a harder time manifesting that somebody whose father has a very healthy solar plexus, as well as compared to somebody who has a good relation with their father. So to anybody who wants to start learning how to be a master manifestor, my first piece of advice, my first tip is to go and heal the relationship with your father. Now, you can heal the relationship with your biological father, whether your father is alive, whether he is passed away. At this point, it doesn't really matter. By the way, you don't even have to know who the person is, right? So I just wanted to get it out there because when I teach this, a lot of people ask me, well, you know, how, like, what if I don't know who the person is, etc., right? Don't worry. You all have a biological father, I guarantee you, right? And you can work with those energies. So part of it is the forgiveness aspect. You would need to forgive your father for all the wrongs that he's done, you know, or, you know, he has caused you, right? Now, this is the case for anybody, right? Whether you believe you have a great relationship with your dad or you believe you have a terrible relationship with your dad, it could always get better, actually. There is no such thing as perfection, as we well know, right? So the way I want you to think about it is imagine energetically, right, that there is a cord that connects your solar plexus, the middle of your belly, to the middle of the belly of your father. At the etheric level, at the energy level, I can actually see people being connected via cords like that. And your father is the donor in this relationship, and you're the receiving party, obviously, as a child. What I see is energy coursing through that cord from your father to you, right? Nurturing you. And that gives you ammunition. That gives you building blocks to be able to make something happen, right? Because you may have a desire, but unless you have the energy to substantiate that desire and give it momentum, you're not going to be able to align with what you want. So the number one tip is forgive your father and start building on that relationship. Certain things like writing a letter to your dad, letting your dad know how he makes you feel, forgiving your dad if that is necessary, expressing your gratitude for your father around the things that he has done for you in the past, all the good things, right? Made you who you are, I'm sure. So all of these things. There are some energy exercises as well. One thing I notice when I work with lineages, and I actually like doing ancestral work. That's one of my favorite types of works, you know, like types of things to do. I like looking at lineages just because I see so many things that are broken within lineages, if I could only tell you guys. And I worry that if they could only see what I see, we could have a completely different population of humans. We could have a population of humans that is not constrained by the same limitations that their ancestors are constrained by. And so I will tell you this. As it relates to the yellow energy stream, there is a way to fix it energetically. You're going to have to do that from a meditation state. Now, we're not going to go into the basic of meditation. This is not what this video is all about. So I'm going to assume that you know how to get yourself into a meditative state or a state of trance. But down the road, happy to do a separate video about it. You know, if you're confused, leave me a note in the comments, and you know, I'll record a new video for you on how to get into the state of trance. There are certain things that I do that work like magic, so I can share that. Anyhow, so here's the deal, right? Let's try to fix the first thing. The first thing is a situation where your father doesn't have a good enough solar plexus himself. It could be, you know, and there are some precursors to that, right? For instance, if your dad is not a wealthy individual, you know, there could be something maybe in his own solar plexus that requires work. Now, when I work with lineages in a meditative state, or from a state of trance in particular, I always look at the lineage as a tree. Whatever tree you want to imagine, you cannot go wrong. Generally, the way the information comes to me is the older folks in the lineage, like the forefathers and the foremothers, are up top on the tree, and the children are kind of like closer to the ground, if you will. Now, it's kind of like maybe a little bit of an upside down tree, but this is what I see energetically, right? You can flip it and it doesn't really matter. But this exercise, here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to imagine in your mind's eye when you're in a meditative state. I want you to imagine your father as a being of light or an energy of light. And then I want you to imagine his father before him and the father before him kind of positioned on a tree alongside the trunk of the tree. And what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to imagine that at the top of that, like literally the first person, I want you to go as far as the first person in male person in your lineage, right? So again, we're only working with the masculine side of your father's lineage, all the men on your dad's side. And they would be placed alongside an axis of a tree, right? Or the trunk of the tree. And what I would like for you to imagine is to go up to the very top. There's always the founding couple of any lineage. So there's always the founding forefather, the original creator of the lineage. So you would go as high as that person, and then you would stop. And then on top of him, so let's imagine that that's your great, 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 great granddad. And then on top over here, I want you to imagine that there is a bowl, and it's like an empty bowl. It's an etheric bowl, energetic bowl of energy that's empty. And I want you to imagine that there is a waterfall of yellow light falling and flowing into that bowl and filling it up. So it's going to fill it up, and essentially that energy, that waterfall, comes directly from source, from that aspect of God consciousness, if you know what I mean, that everything else stemmed from. So once that bowl is completely full, I want you to imagine that the bowl is flipped on its head and the yellow energies are starting to drip. And they're dripping on the crown, on top of the crown. The crown is right here, crown chakra, of your forefather, so that first man in that lineage. And as it drips on his crown, it's starting to penetrate and go down his chakral system into the belly area, right here. And so when it goes down to the belly area, I want you to imagine that it gets accumulated there, almost like there is like a receptacle there for this kind of yellow energy. And, I would like for you to stay here and wait till that part of the body of this being, of this human, is completely filled with yellow energy. And then I want you to drop it down and imagine how, whoever is the next person in that chain, they're also receiving that yellow energy stream. And then it just keeps trickling down until it gets to your father. And we want to stay working with your father actually for as long as it takes. Sometimes it takes 5-10 minutes to just work with the solar plexus energy of your own father, especially if your father has a dysfunctional relationship with this stream of yellow energies. So you want to stay here and really watch your dad's solar plexus be filled up. And the last thing to do in this meditation, in this exercise, in this practice, is to imagine there is a cord of energy connecting you and your father, and that now his healthy solar plexus is starting to send you this beautiful stream of yellow energy that's really healthy. Last but not least, you also need to be in a state of receiving, or in a mode, in a place where you can receive that energy. Very often, what I find with people that have trauma around their father or don't have a great relationship is they have a certain degree of inability to receive his energies. So their own solar plexus is going to be a little bit closed down. So I almost want you to imagine that your belly is starting to open up every time you inhale, exhale, on the exhale. And it's almost like the floodgates are beginning to open in your belly. It's almost like they're opening up, and that space is becoming open. And all of a sudden, you can receive with the energy of your breath. You can take in that yellow stream and fill it up. So this is something that's really, really important. Now, that is if, your father's energy is actually not very, very optimized. if you don't have a good relationship with your father in the first place. Energetically, I would be able to tell that you don't have a good relationship with your father because the cord that connects you and him would be missing entirely, or it would not be this wholesome, holistic, continuous stream. It'll kind of be like chopped up like a, I don't know, like sliced bread. That's kind of like what it looks like energetically. It's pretty crazy. And for some people, the distance between the two slices of bread is kind of pretty significant. So, you know, when I do that work on healing that channel, the ones that have the most empty space and the biggest gaps are the ones where the relationship is the most dysfunctional. So here you would just want to repair that stream between you two. The good news is you don't have to be able to see what's going on, what's wrong. You just get to use your imagination to fix it. That's the good news, right? So if you cannot see the stream, that's fine. That's for people like me to do. That's not for people like you. You can do your self-healing without having clairvoyance. That's the good news. So you would just imagine your dad in a meditative state, standing right in front of you. And then you're standing, you know, opposite of your dad, right? Like that. It's you, your dad. And then you would want to imagine this cord connecting your bellies. And then you would want to imagine that every time you inhale and then exhale, on the exhale, I want you to imagine how every time you exhale, this cord is beginning to repair itself into a continuous stream of energy, right? It's continuing to repair itself, it's continuing to repair itself until at one point it's this wholesome, perfect stream that doesn't have any gaps in between. So this is like the perfect state that you're trying to get into. Now, the next step to do is to increase the size of that connection. So the way to think about it is, you know, think of it as the road or a pathway. If the pathway is this big, there's only so much energy that can go through. So we would need to work on increasing the size of that pathway. Kind of like we're building a highway instead of a countryside road. And so every time you go through the cycle of the breath here, on the exhale is when you want to, essentially every exhale that you make as a human being is an opportunity for you to expand. I just want you to remember that. So every time you exhale, you get to increase the size of that channel. So it's, I'm going to essentially demonstrate what you should be able to see in your mind's eye. So you inhale. Here's what you do. You essentially, do you see how I'm expanding every time I'm taking an out breath? That's what you're supposed to be doing. Once your stream becomes big enough, large enough, essentially, you need to start seeing large streams of yellow energy coursing from the belly of your father to your body. And then you're just receiving, and get really good at accumulating that energy. You almost want to imagine that there's like a little baby sun, mini sun inside of your belly that is holding on to the energies of the yellow spectrum. Why does it want to hold on to those energies? Because you could use them later for manifestation. One of the problems that I see with human beings is they get something energetically from an external source and then they squander it around because it's a leaky bucket. Anytime something is a leaky bucket, you're going to have to keep replenishing it. And by the way, it doesn't act in your favor, right? So we always want to make sure with energy work that we are not creating wasted effort. So it is actually really, really important for us to make sure that we're holding on to the energies of the yellow spectrum for as long as is necessary until we're ready to manifest something. Because manifesting something, essentially, when you figure out and when you do your goal setting, you're giving this energy direction. One thing you need to know about the energy of the yellow spectrum, it's masculine energy. Duh, because we're talking about the father energies, right? Masculine energies like direction. They like conquering, they like winning. They're kind of like the arrow and they like hitting the target. So with masculine energies, every time they're most active when you're giving them the target to pursue. Don't worry if you don't have the target yet, just accumulate the energies of the yellow spectrum. When you're gonna figure out, when you have figured out what you want, you can always get back to this endless pool of energy. So that's the yellow. So refurbishing that connection with your father is extremely, extremely important. So that's one. Do you remember how at the beginning of this video, I told you that there are two major types of energies that you need to manifest the life that you want? The first one was yellow and the second one was gold. So let's talk about gold really, really quickly. Gold are high frequency energies. Gold is, one of my favorite colors. Gold is something that is exceptionally lucrative, especially if you're trying to manifest something that's bigger than life. Where do the energies of the gold spectrum come from? A few places. You can get them from source directly because this is all higher dimensional energy. So if the yellow energy spectrum is at home in third dimensional realities, the energies of the golden spectrum are here as guests. So they're harder to come by. There are fewer of them. One way to get them, like I said, is source consciousness. So if you already know how to connect to source, then you should not have a problem accumulating the energies of the golden spectrum or borrowing them for that matter. However, there is an easier proxy to getting the energies of the golden spectrum, and that is the energy of the sun. So the sun being a planetary body, if you will, or a star, is essentially the best proxy or the best connection that we have to source energies within a third dimensional time-space reality. So sun is kind of like a projection of source in many ways, where and we all are. I mean, let's be real. We all are a projection of source consciousness, right? If it wasn't for source, we would not exist here. It's just each of us as, a soul, we are very individualized and we don't contain within ourselves the fullness of the energies of source. I contain certain energies, you contain other energies, right? So we're all kind of like very thinly sliced. We're kind of like thin sheets of paper, but we're not like a book. Whereas sun actually is really, really good at containing the big chunk, maybe not the entirety of the spectrum of source consciousness, but as close as it gets within our third dimensional space. So the sun is actually a really, really good place to go to if you're looking to align with the energies of the golden spectrum. Each of you has a sunspot. The sunspot is the place in your body where your body is most prone to receiving energies of the sun. For those of you that have, get deep into meditative states and can see things from the meditation realm, you can ask the universe where your sunspot is, and the sun is going to light up a particular part in your body. I will tell you that for most people, you cannot go wrong. Like it's generally one of three places is like the most common. Your belly, again, we'll go back to the belly. Your belly, your chest area, so essentially your heart, but we're talking about higher heart as well, so it's not just like lower heart here, but over here, or somewhere at the top of your head, right? So when you're working with the sun energies, it is really important to first be exposing those parts of your body to the sun as much as possible. Now, I know it's easier said than done for those of you that live in colder climates. I live in Florida, easy for me to say. Doing sun gazing actually is something that everybody can do. So sun gazing is not something that you want to necessarily do in the middle of the day. This is something you want to do first thing when you wake up, ideally before 7 a.m. Or depending on when your dawn is, depending on your locale, the sun may rise later than 7 a.m. That's totally fine. And you would want to do that. You want to start with like just 3 to 5 seconds first, unobstructed looking at the sun, right? You don't want to do that, again, in broad daylight at 2 p.m. You don't want to do that. And you also want to start small and build on it, right? So letting the sun hit your sunspot, whether it's over here, or in your belly area. There are many, essentially the better your relationship with the sun is, the more energies of the golden spectrum you're going to get quite naturally from your surroundings. And that is just the bottom line. What are the things that you could do to strengthen your relationship with the sun? Getting really aligned to the natural cycles of nature, right? Being more active in the summer, less active in the winter, actually, weirdly enough, is going to help you get realigned to the sun. Being in the sun, like I already said. Wearing yellow clothing also, right? And anything that's yellow is going to connect, like yellow foods, yellow clothing is going to bring you closer into that spectrum. Having conversations with the sun. Even if it is like in a form of like writing, you know, question answer, just like a journal, you know, you can ask the sun questions, right? So having a relationship with the sun is all about synchronizing your personal biorhythms with the sun. Very often that means aligning to a degree that you would wake up, naturally would start waking up earlier, right? Because if you're aligned to the sun consciousness, you want to wake up earlier because that's when the sun wakes up, right? I like to think that we're all sun children, right? We are governed by the star. We are in the solar system. The sun is literally the center of our existence. In the ancient times, people were a lot more aligned to the sun. So we used to celebrate the equinoxes and the solstices, right? That was on all the sun calendar. I do recommend for you to start making notes for yourself during the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes of the year to at least quickly align with the sun, even if that's just a quite quick 5-minute meditation. There are many ways of breathing, like breathing techniques that we also can use to get closer to the sun. We can call it sun breaths if you want, you know, as a general umbrella term, but I'll give you one quick one if you want to start realigning your internal body to the rhythms of the sun. It's called sun breath, sun breathing. Essentially, when we're breathing air, you know, essentially we're breathing in prana, but not all prana is created equal. Prana is life force, the energy of the breath. It is that energy that is, you know, floating essentially around us that we're inhaling through the power of our breath. Now, there are different kinds of prana out there. You can think of it as almost like being the entirety of the spectrum of the rainbow. Sun prana is golden, right? So we're working with a golden spectrum here. Really, the only thing that's needed for sun prana is for you to get into, it's not even a meditative state so much, but just like in a state where you can do breath work. All you need is 3 to 5 minutes, you know, once every, I don't know, week or so, as you're starting to align your body with the sun. If you can do it every day, it'll happen faster. So good news over here. So first, you want to make an intention that every time you inhale, you would be inhaling sun prana, right? So the intention is, I want to only be breathing in sun prana is sun energy, right? And then you would essentially close your eyes and you would imagine that sun is right in front of you. And as you're breathing in, I want you to take in the energies of the sun from the core of the sun into the core of your own body. And then exhale the darkness or anything that's, you know, that you need to release. And then inhale sun energies again, right from the core of the sun, and then exhale. So that is one way of doing sun breathing. This is getting kind of long. I don't think I want to give you any more exercises around sun breaths. Maybe I'll make a separate video about that. Let me know in the comments if you found this helpful. If you have questions, let me know as well. Maybe I'll make another clarifying video. We shall see. Thank you for being here. Also, last but not least, I wrote a whole book about manifestation. If you find this content interesting or fascinating, or if it resonates with you at a deep soul level, if it feels like you're remembering something instead of you're learning something new, you've come to the right place. The book is called 72 Keys to Manifestation, An Ancient Path of a Modern Day Alchemist. It is up on Amazon in paperback, hardcover, and even an ebook. So whatever you want, we have it. I'm gonna also I think I'm gonna work on an audiobook. So that's coming. Sending you so much love wherever you are in the world. Sending you a virtual hug, and I'll see you in the next video.